Jonathan, you are the worship pastor at Pathfinder in St. Louis. You've got a great family. How long have you been at Pathfinder?
About 5 years now. Yeah, I
Wow.
can't believe it's been that long already. But
Yeah. So we
yeah,
probably, I guess we've known each other maybe a year, maybe a little bit more than that.
yeah, like year and a half. I know we've been through a few
Yeah.
seasons. The big Christmas and Easter. We've been through that together at least.
Yeah.
You
So speaking of that, we're going to jump right in, and my company, Church Worship Tools, has worked with your church, Pathfinder, on a couple of things. So let's just chat about seasons, and we first chatted about Christmas, and you had this really interesting idea around a couple of songs and some things you want to do for Christmas Eve that was a little not outside the ordinary, but definitely outside of what you could buy, online anywhere. So what did
know.
we do? How did we partner together?
So I think you're being too humble, Aaron. What you meant to say was I had a crazy, out of the park, wacky, just astronomical idea, and I was like, I have no clue how to make this happen. I basically wanted to make an entire ballad, like almost a musical production for Christmas. And like our church has done production stuff before, but we don't have 20 staff members to dedicate to it. We're like a mid-sized church, so it's really just me and my tech guy. And we're doing things year round. So I wanted this thing to happen and kind of had a vision for it. Our staff had dreamed it up, right? But I don't know the first thing about arranging strings, and I certainly don't have time to track out, seven choral parts and all the brass part, all the different parts that go into something as big as that. I just didn't have time to do it, even though I wanted it to happen. And I was, looking around for stuff that existed out there, and there really just wasn't anything. We wanted to tell kind of a unique story about, King Herod and just like the wise men and the time of Jesus, just something really unique. So that's where you came in. I started talking to you, Aaron, and it was just so instantly reassuring as soon as I talked to you, because you're just like, oh yeah, we can make that happen. And I'm like, really? Like you just like wave a wand and you could just make all that stuff for us? He's like, absolutely, we can. And just so from the instant that I talked to you about my plan, I just had a reassurance, and there was this kind of affirmative action that was like, oh yeah, this actually is going to happen. We actually can do this, with the right time and preparation.
Well, you already said all the things, strings. We did you wanted to get your choir involved, so we set up
That's right.
something for your choir to sing on the tracks. And I just I enjoyed you posted something. I saw it the day after Christmas. Um, and you posted something from the church, and I'm like, that is just so fun because, like you said, you don't have an army of people.
Mhm.
Everybody who's doing that on stage was a volunteer, and we were
Yep.
able to put some fun stuff in their hands that they could do, vocal rehearsal tracks, and everything just worked together.
Mm.
And a different story with Good Friday and Easter. We kind of tag team that because your church does
Right.
two totally different services for that. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, we're a Lutheran church, by just history, and kind of the yin and yang of it is we celebrate the redemption and the victory of Easter, but we also celebrate that in the tension of the death and the sorrow of Good Friday. So what I've been really intentional about is giving both experiences for people, and for us, you can't really do that all in the same package, right? You have to do the tension of Good Friday and then the resolution of Easter. And what I'd found that just doing it on my own, parts would get missed. I'd have strings players that would come up to me and be like, hey, "This part doesn't make sense. This was written for a cello, and I'm a strings bass player, and that really doesn't work for me," or whatever. I don't know the situation, but it was just a lot of extra heartache and headache on the week of, Holy Week, which pulls me out of my personal spiritual experience, pulls me out of just getting to enjoy my teams and the church, and just cause a little extra strife. So this year, based off of the success we had at Christmas, I came to you, Aaron, and I was like, hey, it would be a really high value to me. This would be so worth it for me if you would just like if you would just take this part of planning off of my plate. So I was able to come to you and say, "Hey, I want to do, How Deep Father's Love for Us and When I Survey and these five other hymns. I want to do all these hymns, and I don't want to have to think about all the resources that go into it. I just want them to be good there in the right key, for the singers I've got, and all the resources just be available in Planning Center. Like I just don't want to have to touch it." And man, you delivered. I remember getting to 2 weeks before Good Friday and do my final check throughs and like having that little ounce of panic where I'm like, oh crap, like I haven't touched Good Friday yet. I haven't done anything really for this besides just plan a service flow. And I remember opening Planning Center and just having this fear in my heart, but then seeing all the files were just there populated, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, he did that! He totally did that!" And just this wave of relief. And we got to rehearsal, and everything was straight. There was literally between all the click tracks and all the chord charts, there was nothing that was missing. Not a single cue, not a single song section. Everything was just perfect. And I can't tell you how much that means to someone who's handling as much as I am.
It's just such a great privilege to partner with people like you, Jonathan, and your
Mhm.
great church at Pathfinder. Um, yeah, so we would love to chat more. I know we're going to have an opportunity just to keep working together on
Yeah.
other services and other projects. If there's maybe one more thing, I'm putting you on the spot here,
Yeah.
that you would say to other churches who are listening to this and going, "Wow, I wonder
Mhm.
if what could it be?"
Um, yeah, I love what you said about just the personalized feel of it. And me personally, I'm a cheapskate. Like I try to do everything as efficiently, as most cost effectively as possible. I'm checking like on C. Yeah, I do the song select thing where I copy the chords into the chord charts. I don't buy praise charts, and I try to just really skimp by on as much as I can for the church because I know that like we're called to be good stewards of our finances, right? And not every church can afford multi-thousand-dollar productions. Like I know you do that too for some churches. You'll write really big arrangements, but for some churches, man, like they'll be lucky if they can afford $200, a big service or something. Um, but what I will say is that you just know how to ask the right questions and how to scale things. Your company does scale things that are like within our budget and make sense for us, and still leave us with more than we ever could have done alone, and certainly more than subscribing to any sort. Like you can go to, not to call anybody out here, but like Worship Artistry or Multitracks, or there's a bunch of different websites that'll do this kind of thing for you, but not at the level of customization, and certainly not for the price point that you guys offer. I mean, you're just so it seems like it's too good to be true. You're like someone would come and partner with me and do all this crap for me that frankly I just don't want to do myself. Like someone is willing to do that for way less than probably they deserve. Like that's crazy. That's got to be kingdom work, and it absolutely is kingdom work what you're doing, man.
Well, thanks, Jonathan. I really appreciate that. All right, guys. We Thanks for listening in, Jonathan. Thanks for the
Yeah.
call. I really appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you, man. Thank
Yeah.
you. See
All
ya.
right. You too.